All right, we're going to talk about Dr. Fauci. He's got 21 days left. Dr. Fauci has 21 days in order to open up his emails, and let us see what's inside of there.
Well, he and all of his Biden administration buddies have some splaining to do, because a judge in Missouri has said that the Biden administration friends who all told us what we were supposed to believe during the pandemic, well, they have to produce emails between themselves and social media companies so that they can see
collusion.
What kind of collusion they were up to with social media censorship. This stems from a lawsuit between the attorneys general of Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. Missouri and Louisiana. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt and Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry are involved in a lawsuit with Biden officials and social media giants. So the two attorneys generals are accusing the Biden administration and all this sort of merry band of players of working directly with social media companies to censor information and clamp down on our rights to free speech.
So we want to know, what's in these emails? What are we going to learn? The commiseration here between the White House, the collusion between the White House and Dr. Fauci. What did you tell social media companies to say about vaccines? What did you tell Twitter about censorship? What did you tell to block any of this?
YouTube is amongst them, not just Facebook and Twitter. That's right. And let's just run through who the plaintiffs are, right? Because any communication between any of these plaintiffs now is relevant to see if this actually happened. So President Biden, he's not being sued as an individual. He's being sued as his official capacity and all of the people I'm about to mention. So it's not like, oh, we're going to sue Jen Psaki and then go and take her car or whatever as retribution. But Jen Psaki is mentioned in her official capacity as White House Secretary. So is Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, Xavier Becerra, the Secretary of Department of Human Health and Health Services, as well as that department, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the CDC, Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, as well as the entire Department of Homeland Security, Jen Easterly, the Director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security, as well as that department, and Nina Jenkins. Now, this was filed on May 5th. So at the time, she was being sued as her official capacity for the Disinformation Governance Board.
So Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, was asked about this today about, what are we going to see in these emails? What's going to come out in these emails? And here's what she had, because she's on this list of these people being targeted in this.
Well, she is now having to produce her communication as well, because she stepped in for Jen Psaki, right? So whatever she was following up on is absolutely relevant.
So here's what she had to say. Listen.
It's all going to be redacted.
A federal judge ordered that you have 20 days to turn over emails communicating with social media companies over misinformation and disinformation. What are those emails going to show? What kind of communication?
So I can't comment. You asked me this question last week. I can't comment on any specifically ongoing litigation.
So.
Right. I don't think that we will get to see very much of it, at least not in the immediate future, because this is active litigation. This is a part of their case, right?
But if Eric Schmidt gets this stuff, through discovery, they could share it, right? I mean, couldn't they share this publicly if they wanted to?
No, you can't.
Why not?
No, you can't.
They couldn't share?
No, you're not really supposed to do that.
Well, he is U.S. Senate candidate Eric Schmidt. So here he tweeted about the update on this. He said, in May, we filed a landmark lawsuit against top-ranking Biden administration officials for colluding with social media companies to censor free speech. We have already received documents that show their cozy relationship, and now we're demanding more, he said, pulling the thread. In July, Missouri and Louisiana served discovery requests and the third-party subpoenas demanding documents from the top-ranking officials. The Department of Justice is refusing to produce communications between the most senior officials and social media companies, and they're asking for them to produce those documents. And here's what we know so far. DOJ identified 45 federal officials who have interacted with social media companies on misinformation. And by the way, and we should point out, Jen Psaki was up there at the podium telling us that they were doing this. So
Yes.
this isn't a conspiracy theory. She told us. She specifically said, we at the White House are contacting Facebook when we identify things that are in violation of their terms of service. We're pointing them out because it's a grave concern to all of us. We need to get these vaccines.
Well, the original claim
they
filed in
started
May
that-
actually brings up the Hunter Biden story, right? And now we absolutely have admissible evidence of Mark Zuckerberg saying the FBI visited us and told us what to do about this story, right?
Right.
So we know this happens. We absolutely know it happens. And there will be, he's telling us what he's already seen in Discovery is we see a lot of indication of a cozy relationship, right? But is there actually
Criminality or
well, on the one hand, you use this to deplatform people. So
Right.
it's targeting people. It's harming people's livelihood when you take someone off a platform that they use to support themselves,
And
right?
it's a violation of First Amendment rights. So you could, if you find out that there's specifically people who've been deplatformed, could sue the federal government, and they likely would win. I mean, it's a violation of their First Amendment rights, wouldn't it be, if they are literally targeting you?
Well, and the doctors that Anthony Fauci actually did, the emails prove that he wanted to discredit them, right? And so media companies went along with it, but did social media companies also go along with it and maybe promote posts that
Right.
were anti those doctors, right? Then you have real harm, not just for us, the public, who bought into a narrative that harmed us collectively, but harm to these people and their reputation,
Well,
right?
and talk about, David, right? I don't know if you were going to say this, but also the physical harm from pushing something that was heretofore not proven, right? I mean, we'd have years of
Yes.
clinical trials and all of this, right?
So the removal of the ability to have a conversation about whether or not this was good for us, yes, that's collectively, we could argue this was collectively harmful.
Can we have a massive class action
Right.
lawsuit?
But that's a different. I'm not. Go ahead. I was going to go on a tangent, but no.
They specifically created a department, or attempted to create a department in the government to do exactly this.
Yes.
To influence, the
They did, though.
disinformation.
They created a
war.
task force. That task force is still there. And that's what I was going to say, Clayton, is that they're not worried about this. They're bragging about it. They think that this is a good thing. That task force was created, and they did a video, and they were praising it and saying that this was going to be helping people. And I don't think they actually believe that, but that's how they're putting it out there. They're
Yeah.
proud of this.
Yeah, someone in the chat, John Sienkowitz, says Alex Berenson is suing the government. Yeah, because he's one of these people that was deplatformed, right? That the government specifically targeted him and went after him because of what he was reporting on vaccines and adverse effects. Like, they went after him for that and deplatformed him.
Look at the reputations of those doctors. Robert Malone. I mean, Robert Malone, you can't even have him on your show on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or you'll lose your channel.
Yeah.
We interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough on the show, but we couldn't even release it on YouTube. So we released it on Rumble. If you want to go see our full hour-long interview with Dr. Peter McCullough. And by the way, Peter McCullough said it's the best 1 hour show that he's ever done on this topic, by the way. So go and watch it.
Nice.
It's interesting to look at what these two lawsuits, what they want, right? What they're not suing for billions of dollars. They're suing for, this is what they want. This is what they're asking for in their claim. They want the defendants to declare that their conduct violates First Amendment of the U.S. A judge could make them do that.
Yeah.
Sure, right? They want the defendants to declare that their contract is ultra vires and exceeds their statutory authority, that they don't have the right to be doing that, and that they should stop. They want the defendants to declare that their conduct violates the Administrative Procedures Act and that it is unlawful, and vacate and set aside such conduct. So knock it off, right? They want a preliminary and permanently enjoin defendants, right, to just basically from not engaging in this anymore, and grant any further relief as the court may deem just and proper. Now, I don't know how you could ever put a dollar amount on something like that that's punitive. I just don't know, but they're saying they sort of leave it up to the court that this is what they want. Now it's an opening salve, that doesn't mean they'll get all of these things, but what could they get is absolutely a public apology, that sometimes courts do order those things, right? And then what? Right? And then what? And then we reinstate, then we start to compensate, for instance, military members who were
lost their jobs.
Well, then what? Like then it's sort of an avalanche of consequences.
Well, but it's also important, I think, in this to hold government officials accountable who, for perhaps criminality. I mean, and this is where Senator Rand Paul is going with Dr. Fauci and the lies that he's perpetrated in front of Senate committees right to Senator Rand Paul's face. Here's what Senator Paul had to say about it.
I think that all of America should be appalled that America's doctor, the leading expert on COVID and public health, doesn't want to divulge information, doesn't want to divulge his communications with big tech. But it goes even beyond that. The last time I had him in a hearing, we told him that through freedom of information, we discovered that 193 NIH scientists had taken, no, it was 1,800 scientists had taken $193 million in royalties. And his response was, not that I'll look into it and I'll reveal it. His response was, by law, we don't have to tell you which companies gave us how many royalties and to which scientists. So this is a guy that his modus operandi is to cover up and try to not allow any sunshine on any of his activities. That should be a tip-off as to his motives.
Yeah. Well, of course he doesn't want that information out there. He's trying to drive off into the sunset now.
Yeah.
And I hope that the government holds him accountable. And I hope, he's not able to hide all of this stuff. What is the involvement of U.S. funding of gain-of-function research in Wuhan? What is the involvement? How much did you know about that? The involvement in Ukraine as well with the bio research laboratories in Ukraine. And also how are you colluding with big tech companies to suppress Americans' voices and deplatform people, and also to spread misinformation yourself across these platforms?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's like you have climate sometimes with these things, like, with marijuana becoming legal more and more, and you still have a lot of people that are in prison for those offenses, right? So it's like, if this sets a precedent that from moving on, these tech companies and everybody knows, okay, we cannot block people and we can't do this again. We might have some doctors and people that are collateral damage, but moving forward, that could be a good thing. It's unfortunate, but hopefully that's the outcome.
Right. Yeah, and the big pharma piece. Someone in our chat, Raven Boy Crypto, says don't forget big pharma too in all of this.
Yeah.
Right, and that involvement, right? And because that's really what I want to see too, is the emails not just with big tech. I want to see the collusion between these guys and the biopharmaceutical complex.
Yeah.
And how all of that ties together with big tech. And, that narrative is being driven right out of those private offices and private communications with those people.
Yeah. I think it's interesting who's not named in this, which is none of the social media companies are named in this lawsuit.
Right.
Right. And none of the pharmaceutical companies are named in this lawsuit. And so, they will be exposed through this lawsuit. But I'm super interested why. I mean, I guess they're allowed to do this, or I don't know. There's a interesting
constitutional
legal argument
here.
here.
I think also too, just the interesting part of this is that they have immunity, right? The pharmaceutical companies, but also I love that the judge said no. Like, you're going forward with this.
Yeah,
and you have to give us.
You're going to
answers.
show us some stuff, and we're going to be watching.
We will be watching.
Once in a while, we're getting judges like that with the Pfizer documents and stuff. Like, that's good that we see judges actually standing up now in some cases.
Yeah.